The following video contains excerpts from presentations that are being made in all of our schools as well as within our departments. The purpose of these presentations is to provide our employees with important information related to our budget, understanding of why we are where we are, and really what will be at stake based on our November Surtax ballot question. We hope you will find this information valuable as you weigh that very important community decision. Let me start, and again, the first 10 minutes or so really is just to make sure that everybody kind of does understand some classic budgeting information. We actually have two budgets. One is the operating budget, and that's the biggest one, and that's the one everybody thinks of, with all the things that help us deliver all that we offer to our kids programmatically. And you see the general makeup of that. And the important part of that, the top line, 84% of our operating budget is people. And that's not really unique. That's just the way it works out. The second budget is a capital budget, which involves the things on the right, debt service, buses, technology, and all the buildings, maintenance, repair, the infrastructure that you need to replace, whether that be an HVAC unit or pipes underground, and I'm going to get into that in a little more because it really is the budget on the right that is jumping up and getting us. But it affects the budget on the left, and I'll explain how and why. This is the how. That's what's happened since 07-08 to last year. We didn't have the third calculation for this year, so we couldn't put the operating fund up, but we cut $25 million from the operating budget in 13-14 following this. Now, look, I got my little laser, that's pretty cool. That is not a typo. We have lost, in really 4 years, we lost 4 budgets, we lost 2/3 of our capital revenue, $76 million. And you might say, wait a minute, come on, how did that happen? Well, let me show you now. And this is in essence our capital budget. And first of all, you may say, wait a minute, how did 65% of any capital budget go away? Well, what happened, I'll tell you what these bars are. The blue is the ad valorem tax. That funds the capital budget. Just so you know, the red is state money called PICO. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It doesn't matter because it's gone. We don't get it anymore. Charter schools get the only PICO dollars that exist. So you'll see it's gone. Now what happened in 8-9, the legislature cut a $250,000 from the capital budget. Then they cut another $250,000 from the capital budget. And in 9, 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, property values went down 11, 12, and 14% in Brevard County. The highest drop, 3-year drop in the state of Florida. So while 25% of the millage went away, each mill was earning way less, and that's how you go from a place where you are really in pretty good shape to where, let me explain this line, that is our debt. Like anybody else, we have debt from when we built buildings. We were gaining 1,000, 2,000 kids a year for over a decade. And so we go from a place where we were in pretty good shape to a place where the revenue that we earn does not even pay our debt. Now the red line is the minimum needed for our capital budget. And I'm going to explain that in a minute. So, we don't want anyone thinking, oh, I bet that's wish list stuff. I'm going to show you what I mean by minimum. It's basically $43.3 million above our debt. Again, I told you this slide's a little much, but conceptually I just need you to know why some of the decisions that we're going to have to make one way or the other won't be optional. Now, there are some reality gaps that exist out there in the land. One of the reality gaps is that, well, the property taxes are getting better now, so within 2 or 3 years it'll all be good. You see the blue lines? There are 3 estimations of the next decade in property values. Ours, the state's, and then the property appraiser, although she doesn't go out that far. The bottom line is they're all pretty close. This one is the most optimistic projection currently for the next 10 years. I don't want anyone to say that we were sandbagging, that is the most optimistic. What you see above the bar is called deferral, which means we should have been buying buses, we should have been replacing HVAC units, we should have been replacing pipes, but we haven't been. We've been putting that off. Deferral is a fancy name for we don't have the money, so we're going to put that off. The problem is, as you know, that stuff doesn't stop getting older because you decided not to replace things. This green is our capital reserve. When we were back in this arena and we had good money in our capital budget, we built some schools and they came in under budget, we had a capital reserve. We have used over 2/3 of it. That dark green is what we've already used just to repair at failure. The light green is how we project to use what is left in the capital reserve to equalize the next 5 years, with basically a 25 million or so amount of deferral, which means we are not even remotely doing what we need to do. Total deferral, if we go out to 24-25 this way, that's $388 million, and I'm going to tell you, we probably won't get there. I mean, there'll be our bus system, for instance, will collapse upon itself. And if we were to get there, that is an enormous bill that we will put on our children. Someone will have to pay for it. The things that are failing will continue to fail. Now that's another reality gap is, boy, if they get the sales tax, they'll be rolling in dough and they'll be air conditioning ticket booths and everything else. The reality is that's the projection for the sales tax. And really anything that we recover over the minimum that we need doesn't even come close to recovering what we've already deferred. So, and that's why we also tell people, there are folks, we got some middle schools that don't have air-conditioned gyms. It's not in here. We've got nothing but HVAC pipe, roofs, and things for the next decade if we get this sales tax. Now, when I say the red line is minimum, let me explain that. And this is the last budget, and then we go into kind of what's at stake. We should be buying $4 million of buses every year. If we buy $4 million of buses, we are on a 14-year replacement cycle. Now, the industry standard says run your buses 10 years on the road and then make them 2 years as a sub-bus. So what I'm telling you is even at $4 million a year, we're above that. We're a 14-year replacement cycle. Technology, $6 million, that's nothing new. Local area network, wide area network requirements, servers on an 8-year replacement cycle, that's high, and desktops at a 5-year replacement cycle, nothing new. When we say $6 million, nothing new. Here's the biggie. The APPA says you really need to budget 1.5% of your facilities for renewal. Your stuff will fail, and 1.5 to 3%. 1.5 for us is $27.5 million. This year we budgeted 2.5. We should have spent $110 million in the last 4 years, and we've spent 20. We budget $5.8 million for repair at failure. Last year we ran out of money. Why would we run out of money? Well, let me give you an example. We have 2 temporary chillers. I've learned a lot in the last 3 years. Because when the HVAC goes down, sometimes it's a part that takes 2 weeks, sometimes it went down, it never comes back. You have to run a temporary chiller out there while you're getting the part. Last year, at one point, we had 9 temporary chillers out in the field. Now you say, but Brian, you only have 2. We had to rent 7. It's a more costly way to do business. And what we had to do then was eliminate a renewal project, to pay for the repair at failure, which just perpetuates the problem. We have Kathy will tell you, we had a principals meeting not long ago. I asked, how many of you have had the HVAC fail this year? And it was about half the hands. And it's going to keep failing. We don't buy magic chillers or school buses or pipes. We have miles of galvanized steel pipe, and it's all crumbling. When we were at that faculty meeting the other day, Dane Theodore, our associate superintendent, just while I was saying all this, got a message that water was bubbling up through the floor at Sable Elementary, like Jed Clampett shooting at some food, you know. And that's because that's when you know the pipe has broken. And we monitor water and we see it spike and we know there's a leak out there somewhere, we got to go find it. But the problem is we replace back to where the pipe is strong enough when we should replace it all. Because 300-400 feet down, it's crumbling there too. That's the issue. Now, if we continue to defer in our capital budget, buses become irreparable, HVAC fails, the roofs no longer are a barrier to water, and by the way, long before the water starts dripping down from the ceiling, it will bring moisture in, which brings mold in. And so we are out repairing roofs all the time. Pipes will fail, and here's the thing. None of that is optional. And every year you defer, it's going to happen in a big way, in a very expensive way. Now, when it happens, where will the money come from? Superintendents have asked the legislature, can you please give us back the $500,000 that you took out of the capital budget? That is dead on arrival. That's not going to happen. Our capital reserve is almost gone. 55 of 67 school districts have a sales surtax to support their schools. Brevard is one of 12 that doesn't. Here's the reality, folks, and I say this in a lot of places. There are probably few people in this room that haven't jumped on a road that they make you pay to drive on and gone to Orlando and spent money, and when you did, you supported Orange County Public Schools. Their people come here, dip their toes in our ocean, spend money, and don't support this school at all. But here's what I need everybody to understand. If the sales tax does not pass, then there's only one place to get the dollars, and it's in the operating fund. That's the only place to get it. And if we said those dollars are not optional, let's remember what the operating fund is. Now I'm going to tell you, folks, This right here, in 07-08, we spent $15.3 million on electricity. Last year we spent 10.8, and there's been a rate increase in there. $4.5 million we've been able to recover from you guys being tenacious and everybody being tenacious about shutting out lights and all that stuff. We don't have much more to get there, folks. We really don't. So I got to tell you, if we have to take money from the operating budget, that's why it's important for all of us. Now, if the sales tax is defeated, our estimation is that, okay, we're not going to get the $33 million from the sales tax. Remember, that would protect all of our facilities, allow us to buy buses, allow us to replace our technology. That's not going to happen. We will take about $8 million from the operating fund and just keep repairing at failure and keep the buses rolling, keep the HVAC on to the best of our ability. It won't be optional. That $8 million will not be optional. It might be more than that. And the reality is we'll be still deferring nearly $20 million every year. And someone sometime will pay for that. But there is good news. First of all, if it does pass, then, as I said, we'll protect our facilities investment. By the way, $1.8 billion is the value of all of our property. $1.8 billion. But here's the thing. We are already using some of our operating money into the capital budget. And if the sales tax passes, one of the first things we will do is get operating dollars completely out of any capital effort. Which means instead of $8 million going out of the operating fund, $4 million comes back to the operating fund before Tallahassee does anything. And we hope they might add. And so the big finish is this. If the sales tax passes, $4 million recovered to the operating fund. If it fails, probably at least $8 million will have to come out of the operating fund. And so I have had a lot of people say to me, the capital budget, well, Doc, I'm sorry, that's your problem. Just keep the air on here, but good luck with that. But the reality here is that we're talking about a $12 million swing in the operating fund. And for a decade, we don't ever have to worry about the operating fund have to meet the needs of the capital budget because nobody thinks that $500,000 is coming back anytime soon. For more information, please visit our website at brevardschools.org and click on the Election tab located on our front page.